Hello and welcome to the 25th Congressional District Candidates Forum, brought to you by SCV TV, KHTS AM 1220, the Signal newspaper, and College of the Canyons Cougar News.
I'm Lee Rogers, and I'm a doctor. And people always ask me, why would a doctor who has a successful practice and who obviously is making a good living want to run for Congress and go to Washington? And I usually respond this way. I respond in the form of a question, and I say, look at what's going on in Washington, and if you had the opportunity to go there and change something, wouldn't you? I am running for Congress because I believe that one person can still make a difference. For too long, all we've heard is nothing, all we've heard is no from Congress. I don't think sending career politicians from Sacramento to Washington is going to accomplish anything. I want to be your congressman because I know what it takes to look somebody in the eye and know what they're suffering from and be able to put real solutions on the table and come to an agreement on how to fix the problem. Somebody told me the other day, you know, if we just get 10 people in a room from our district and put most of our district's problems on the table, these 10 people, everyday, average people, can come up with a lot of solutions and actually fix what's going on. And that's where I feel where I am. And I'm hoping that you can trust me to go to Washington to do this job for you. Thank you.
Legislative efforts to stop the CEMEX mine have failed repeatedly. It's a pressing issue for this valley. What would you try to do differently?
I think this is the #1 federal issue for Santa Clarita right now, is stopping the CEMEX mine. You know, we've had failed leadership in Washington on this issue so far. A bill has been entered to stop the mine, but no co-sponsors have been obtained in the House side. And now we have a Senate bill that's been sponsored by both our senators, Senator Boxer and Senator Feinstein. And we need at least to start a bill that is introduced in the House, a companion bill. Without that, then we're nowhere. This bill is currently going through committee on the Senate side, and it really is the only solution. The city has been fighting this for over a decade now. They've spent a lot of money on attorneys trying to find any solution, and the only solution is the federal solution. And I've been committed to this since I started running 3 years ago, and I'll remain committed to it, and I promise I'll make it my top priority.
Which congressional committees would you like to be on, and why?
There are two committees I'm most interested in. The first is Science, Space, and Technology, and this I think would have a tremendous impact for our district, especially in the Antelope Valley with a lot of aerospace. And many of you recall, I think, that we built the space shuttle in Palmdale, and we do have a very close relationship with our space exploration, and I'm saddened to see that program dwindle. I want to see a renewed federal investment in space exploration. Nothing makes me prouder as an American than when I used to see the space shuttle take off and see that American flag on the tail. There's also a health subcommittee on science, space, and technology, and as a doctor, I really want to have a voice on healthcare. And then also the Veterans Committee is of real importance to me. We have 50,000 veterans in our district. We don't have a veterans hospital here. They have to travel long distances to get care that they need. And so those are my interests.
What would you do to improve the success of industries such as aerospace, television and filming, and manufacturing, which have traditionally been important to this region?
Well, the good news is that if you read the recent Santa Clarita Valley Economic Development Corporation snapshot on manufacturing, we're actually increasing a little bit in our manufacturing jobs over the last quarter. On the filming side, there are more filming permits that are being requested in the Santa Clarita Valley. We obviously have Disney here that's doing some work, and that's important. One thing that's kind of peripheral to that is again, the CEMEX issue with the particulate that would be in the air that may cause some problems with filming. So that's a real concern to the filming industry, and they want to make sure that they have somebody strong that's going to stand up to fight that. And manufacturing is actually the largest job base in Santa Clarita Valley comes from manufacturing. And I think that we need somebody who's going to stand up for the workers' rights who are working in these factories and making sure that they have what they need, whether that's good health care, good benefits, and really understanding the plight that it takes to work an honest day's work.
How would you assess the role of healthcare reform so far, and what changes would you like to see?
You know, I'm just, I tell you, I travel around the district and I hear from so many people, and they are so tired of this argument about Obamacare, and I think really they would be sick and tired of it, but now they have good preventative care, so they're just tired of it. It's mind-boggling that people will sit here and argue about the fact of whether or not 7 million people who now have insurance should continue to have that insurance, including 1.2 million people in California, and that doesn't even include young adults who are 26 and under who are now on their parents' insurance. There's a lot of good things that came about with the current health reform bill, but there's a lot of things that need to be done to fix it, and I just want to fix it and move on. We have so many other important things to address in our country, and wasting all this time and energy, keep rehashing the same argument over and over again. And I think if you want to fix healthcare and move on, send a doctor to Washington to do it.
How much should the federal minimum wage be, and why?
Well, this is something where we have a stark contrast because, I'm on the right side of this issue, and I know that Tony and Steve are on the wrong side of this issue, because I know that 75% of people in the United States and a majority of people in our district, and even a majority of Republicans in our district, support an increase in the minimum wage. I support an increase in the minimum wage to the current proposal, which is $10.10 an hour, $10.10 an hour. This doesn't raise taxes. It doesn't cost the government anything. I think that nobody who works full-time should have to live in poverty. You should get an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. And some critics actually say it's going to hurt, that increasing the minimum wage should actually only help young people. I've heard the opposite from what you're saying. And that's such a stupid argument. The average age of somebody who's on minimum wage is actually 35, and 2/3 of them are women. And probably a lot of them come from double paycheck families. And these are families we need to support.
Where do most of your campaign contributions come from, and what are you doing to ensure victory in this election?
Well, most of our contributions actually come from individuals. We've had, I think, almost 2,000 individuals that have given contributions to our campaign. In the week after Buck announced his retirement, we had 1,300 new donors. And these are actually very small donors. These are people that sometimes only give $3 or give $3 a couple of times. And it's that type of grassroots support that really gives me hope that we're going to be able to change something. Because I think one of the main problems that is affecting our country is actually the electoral system and the ability for people to pour in large amounts of money and influence elections. And I'd like to see it to where individuals, people who are just reaching into their pocket, hardworking people, want to give you $20, I want to see where they have a much bigger voice and not big corporations who are, and other super wealthy donors who are influencing elections through super PACs.
So what we'd like to know is what you would want to know from each other.
So I'll ask Senator Strickland a question. I think I've read before that you've described yourself as a pro-life candidate. And I want to know if that extends to women who have either been raped or in cases of incest, or who are worried because their life might be in danger about them wanting to end a pregnancy.
Seems and like Tony Strickland, you have 60 seconds.
Yeah, it seems like you know my position. I'm pro-life with those 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and threat to the mother's life. I believe that we should fight to preserve lives and also promote things like adoption, because there's a lot of folks, a lot of families that would like to adopt that can't have children. And so I'm pro-life with those 3 exceptions: rape, incest, and threat to the mother's life.
Do you think it's ever acceptable to allow for the federal government to shut down or default on its debts? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think it's outrageous that you would send a representative to Washington and they would vote to shut down the federal government. The government exists for the purpose of helping us get along. It's there for us and not for them. And they use this as a tool to further their own political agenda. And Steve talks about the Constitution and how we're doing things that he feels are outside the Constitution. Well, one of the things that's in the Constitution is protecting the full faith and credit of the United States. And if he would have voted against that debt ceiling increase, we would have defaulted on our debt, and that would have been a major disaster for us. So that's something that you will never see me do. I will always defend the full faith and credit of the United States. And I hear Tony talk about, you know, balancing the budget, and a balanced budget is great, but looking at the Ryan proposal, which is coming through now, the path to prosperity, this balances the budget on the backs of middle-class Americans. It gives a huge tax cut to people making over $1 million a year, and a tax increase to middle-class Americans. That's not the way you balance a budget. That's not the way I'm going to balance the budget.
Last summer's Powerhouse Fire renewed concerns about the U.S. Forest Service policy on firefighting, which has put homes and developments in the Santa Clarita Valley at risk. How do you weigh concerns for housing and development versus environmental priorities?
I think I know why Tony didn't answer the question. I mean, I didn't hear an answer to that question. And the reason is it probably has to do with some of his history around environmental issues, and he likes to talk about possibly being with green wave technology, a technology he claims he was leading, which is now no longer available. And just actually yesterday I heard about you making a comment about how climate change is a hoax. And one of the things that we can't do is we can't afford to send people to Washington that, one, don't believe in science. I mean, that's first and foremost. 97% of scientists agree that climate change is affecting our planet, and it's causing these wider extremes in weather, which is causing our drought. And we need to make sure that we have somebody that's going to go and respect the environment and also respect business at the same time, to make sure that we have housing developments that are in areas that are safe, not in areas where there could be a landslide, as you saw in Washington State. So I'll make sure to balance those two issues very well.
And Lee Rogers, close it out for us.
Okay, thank you, Leon. And thank you everybody for putting together a good forum. I think this is a great opportunity for people who may not be able to get out to a debate to see the candidates interact with one another, especially students who are busy studying. I just want, I want to close by saying I'm not a partisan. I'm a doctor. If you're wheeled into my operating room, I don't ask if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you need my help, I'm going to help you. And I think that no party has a monopoly on good ideas. But when one party is shameless, as we're seeing now with the current Ryan budget, the other party cannot afford to be spineless. I'm proud to be a Democrat. I'm proud to be a part of the party that brought you Medicare and Social Security. I think that if Tony Strickland or Steve Knight were elected, that they would do everything to work with Paul Ryan and the Koch brothers to dismantle those two programs. I'm proud to be a part of the party that brought you the 40-hour work week and Family Medical Leave Act. And I want to see us go even further. I want to see paid maternity leave, and I want to see paid vacation. I'll stand up for the middle-class working families. I don't think that Steve Knight and Tony Strickland will stand up for you. I think that they will stand on you to further their own political agendas. You know, the doctor-patient relationship is based on trust. And just think about your own doctor, how much you trust your own doctor. I want to bring that trust to Washington, and I hope that I can count on you to trust me with your vote on June 3rd.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Steve Knight, Tony Strickland, Lee Rogers, candidates for 25th Congressional District in the election coming up on June 3rd. We had today asking the questions from COC Cougar News, Taylor Villanueva, from AM 1220 KHTS, Perry Smith, and from the Signal newspaper, Luke Money. I'm Leon Warden, reminding you to vote on June 3rd.